This is everything you need to know about the Hohem iSteady M7. And in this video, we'll be covering everything from what's in the box, setup and balancing, all the functions and features and what they do and how they work, including the AI tracking features and some real world examples on how to use this gimbal. I'll also be showing you some of the mobile apps that you can use alongside this to help elevate your mobile filmmaking. That being said, just as a quick note here, that this video is not sponsored. However, Hohem did reach out and say the following. Hey Demetrius, we love your channel. We've got a gimbal your audience might like, want to collaborate. And I said yes. Now, they've had no say in this review or final video, so everything you're seeing is based on my real world experience and testing. Also, a big shout out to Freewell for sending over the iPhone filmmaking kit, which will be used as part of testing for this video. So all the products that you're gonna see from me testing, I have affiliate links in the description box down below. So if you decide to move forward with this gimbal and you wanna purchase either the gimbal or the Freewell kit, check the links in the description box down below. And that just helps support the channel. There is no additional cost to you. That being said, let's take a look what's in the box and then jump into setup and balancing. Now I have the standalone version of the gimbal. However, there are other options online, such as the one with the briefcase handle, a light, microphone, and a quick release tripod. The standalone version comes in this nice case. You have a bright M7 logo on the front and this rigid pattern on the top. Underneath, it just has the form of the gimbal inside, which opens and closes with a zip, and does come with a handle as well. Inside the case, you have this netting for your documents or your cables. Comes with your quick start guide for your AI tracking, safety and warranty. And then you have the gimbal itself as well as the tripod legs. And then you get two accessories for cables. One being the USB-C cable for charging. It's USB-A to USB-C, unfortunately. I wish it was USB-C to USB-C. And you do have a USB-C to USB-C cable, and this is for charging the phone on the go with the gimbal, and we'll be covering that later on in this video. Now, this gimbal is packed full of technology and features, and the main one here being the AI tracking module, which can track multiple subjects such as people, cars, pets, etc. This is reversible, so we can just use the two pins to remove and then rotate either towards us or away from us, depending what subject we want to track. The AI tracking module also doubles up as a CCT and RGB fill light, which is fully adjustable with brightness and RGB control. We have a detachable touchscreen and remote, which works up to 10 meters away as well. And we can even use it for framing through the AI tracking module camera. It has a built-in extension pole for low angle and high angle shots. And my favorite here being the 500-gram payload limit. And this is great so we can add additional accessories such as lights and microphones, or even Freewell's ND filter or anamorphic lens. This gimbal will perfectly support that weight and it will have no problems, as I have been using it throughout my testing for this video. Additionally, on here, we have a USB-C in on the gimbal with a 1/4-inch screw mount hole. And we also have a USB-C out for charging the phone on the go, as well as a 1/4-inch screw mount on the top on the tilt arm as well for those additional accessories, as I've been using throughout this video for some BTS footage. That being said, let's get on with balancing and setting up the gimbal. Now, getting this gimbal set up and balanced is really straightforward. Now, once you've attached the tripod legs to the gimbal, place it on a flat surface. Then we want to unlock the axis of the gimbal. So for the pan, we flick up, rotate, we want down, and tilt also down, and this will unlock all the axis. Now, I find it easier to lock the pan and the tilt function in its place by just flicking those down and just rotating everything till it's locked. And that way it's going to be easier to balance. Now, if you want to film in vertical format, all you need to do this is rotate the phone mount to the vertical position. Or if you want to film in landscape, just rotate it back into the landscape position. For the purposes of this video, we're going to use landscape mode. And all we want to do is grab our phone now and just open up the phone mount holder and place our phone in. And then we want to push all the way to the end. Now, because only the rotate axis is unlocked, as you can see, it's balancing to one side. All we want to do now is go the opposite side by unlocking the lever and then just pushing this until there it's about balanced. And that is it. As you can see, straight away it is balanced. We want to lock that. And all we want to do now is hold the power button down until it switches on. Remember to unlock the other axes, and then your gimbal is balanced. Now to auto calibrate, you just press this 5 times and this will auto calibrate the gimbal so it's automatically balanced. Now just note that if you're going to be using the cable included with the M7 to power the phone while it's being used, we will need to make an adjustment to the balancing of the gimbal. So if we push the phone slightly back, we want to make sure we have the black USB into the phone. And we just connect that in. And underneath that, you will see a USB-C out. And this is where you want to plug the gray end in for power for the cable. And now we just want to push the phone all the way back until it needs rebalancing again. And for the purposes of this, we're going to attach Freewell's ND magnetic ND filter as well. So that is on now. You'll hear a click. And now all we want to do is unlock the lever and do the same again by just pushing the lever to the opposite direction until it is balanced, which is about there. And all you need to do now is just hold the power button on again until its gimbal switches on and it will automatically balance. There we go. And that is how easy it is to set up the gimbal and get it balanced. Now this gimbal has a lot of buttons and functionality, and it could be really overwhelming for new gimbal users. From the single press, double, triple, quadruple, and even 5 presses, because they all do different things. Now I'm going to run through them with you in this video, but what I will do is I'll make a free downloadable PDF of all the functionality into a cheat sheet. So that way, when you're out in the field and maybe you forget, which could happen because it happened to me, you could just refer to that and it was pretty straightforward. I actually made some notes because my phone was being used, so I had to refer to a piece of paper. That being said, let's start with the buttons and functionality. The power button. If you long press this for 3 seconds, this turns the gimbal on and off. If you double press this, this puts the gimbal into standby mode. And this is really useful from going location to location. If you press this 5 times when it's on, the gimbal will balance and auto calibrate. Make sure it's on a flat surface. When the gimbal is off and you single press the power button, this will start reverse charging from the gimbal to the phone. The trigger button. If you hold this, this puts it into lock mode and none of the axes move. If you do a single press and a long press hold, this puts it into sports mode. A double press will recenter the gimbal. A triple press will have the gimbal rotate 180 degrees, so forward facing or backward facing. And pressing the trigger 4 times puts it into wide angle mode. So if you're using the wide angle lens to film and you don't want part of the gimbal to show, this will rotate away. The side roller. If you long press the side roller, this will turn the fill light on and off. If you triple press the side roller, this puts it into either CCT or RGB modes. You just have to triple press again to switch between the two. When you are in CCT or RGB mode, if you single press, this will toggle between the brightness and temperature or brightness and RGB mode. If you double press, this will switch between focus or motor control. If you're under motor control, a single press will toggle between tilt, roll, and pan. Underneath the roller control, you have an A/B button. A long press on the A or B will set that point. And if you press A or B, it will go to that position instantly. If you double press A or B, this will start the motion at the defined speed, which you can adjust in the LCD screen. Now, when the touchscreen remote is detached, the side button, if you double press, this will center the gimbal. Triple press, this will face the gimbal forwards or backwards by rotating 180 degrees. 4 times will put this into wide angle mode. And if you press 7 times, this will disconnect the remote to the gimbal. To reconnect, just place it back in. The mode button on the remote, if you single press, will switch the modes to either pan, tilt, or follow. If you triple press the mode button, this will put it into ICP mode and you can adjust the speed on the screen. If you press it 5 times, this will auto calibrate the gimbal. The shutter button, you have a zoom control. This will only work with the Hohem app. The single press will start recording or take a photo. Double press will toggle between photo and video. Triple pressing the record button will use either the rear or front facing camera. And long press will power off the remote. To power on again, replace the remote back into the gimbal. And the joystick is used to move the gimbal up, down, left and right. Now let's look into the AI tracking features you get with the Hohem iSteady M7. Now the module itself has a on-off switch, which you can toggle on and off. When you press this into the on mode, this will show a red light and then it will flash as well twice. There we go. And even on the LCD screen, you will see that this is red as well, showing that it is on, but it's not actually tracking anything. Now, in order to track a subject using the gestures, this will be the easiest way. You do an OK sign, and now the light will turn green on the tracking module, and on the LCD screen, it will be green as well. In order to stop tracking, all you need to do is do a stop sign, and then the light will turn red, and also on the LCD screen will also turn red. To do a start recording, you need to do a weird this sign. So once you do this sign, it will start flashing green and then the camera app will start recording, and this will work in the native camera app as well, which is great. In order to stop recording, all you need to do is this call symbol again. The light will start flashing green and then it will stop recording. Now when you are in tracking mode, so you can see that the gimbal is following you left and right. If you needed to reframe yourself, and this is easier done with the front facing camera than the rear facing camera, all you need to do is this framing symbol. The light will start flashing green and you can just position yourself somewhere else. You do the same thing again, you do this framing symbol, light is solid green, and now you're on either side of the camera. Again, this is pretty easy to do when you're front facing camera. Unless you're with a friend, then you can reposition it that way. Now, if you're using the LCD screen for tracking, you can either double tap the subject and this will automatically start tracking the subject, or you can drag a box over what you want to track and then just press on the screen to confirm the selection. You can also confirm selection by pressing the side button or the trigger on the gimbal. If you are tracking a subject you want to pause, you can just press the trigger or the side button to pause or continue tracking. If you triple press on the screen, this will clear subject tracking. If you long press on the detachable remote, this will enter into calibration mode, and this is where you'll be able to calibrate the AI tracking module to your camera. And this will differ, of course, depending if you're using the front-facing or rear-facing camera. If you're using the rear-facing camera, you might need a friend to help calibrate this with you. Front-facing is going to be a little bit easier. But when you're using the remote while you have the gimbal placed down to track you, this will give you at least some sort of guidance to how your camera on your phone will be looking versus to what you have on the LCD screen of the detachable remote. Now, if you're enjoying this video so far, you're finding value and you're learning something new, I'd really appreciate if you give it a like. It does help push the video out to more people, and it also just tells me that you enjoy videos like this. Also, what do you think of the gimbal so far? Is it something you'd pick up? I know that I've really enjoyed my time in Greece playing around and making this video for you guys. However, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And would you like more videos on this gimbal? I know that in the coming weeks that we're going to have more videos on the DJI Air 3S, and I have 3 FPV drones that I have to review, which will be super fun because I can't wait to get back into FPV videos again. So if you want to see more content like this on drones, photography, gears and travel, then hit that subscribe button. Now let's continue with the video and we'll move into the different gimbal actions. Now the Hohem iSteady M7 has your standard gimbal modes. You have pan follow, pan tilt follow, lock mode, POV mode, you have inception, and you also have sports mode as well. For pan follow mode, this is great for orbits or panning scenery and side to side tracking. If you're using pan tilt follow, this is great for reveal shots, push in or out, or a jib or crane shot. And in POV mode, this can actually be easier for beginners. but you can do things like orbit tracking by tilting the gimbal from left to right as you orbit around the subject. You have push in or push out where you can rotate the phone, or you can have a barrel roll or fast action shots. FPV mode is pretty straightforward. You can put this into FPV mode by pressing the M button 3 times, and then you can adjust the speed and you just walk in a straight line, and this will give you a cool dynamic shot. Before we look into some smoothing settings and cinematic tips, let's take a look at the LCD screen of the gimbal so we can cover everything there so we know what's going on. So on your main screen, again, we can adjust everything. So instead of doing all the single and double taps, all you need to do is click on the function. So on this main screen here, we can select whether we want to go into focus, tilt, roll, pan, or CCT mode for the light. We can also change the direction of the roller, so if you want to reverse it or not. And then we can change the adjustments of the light and how bright they are and what RGB color, as well as turning the light on and off. We also have the motor balance here, so we can see the gimbal is balanced. If it was off balance, we can use this to fix the balance of the phone. We can also select our modes, whether we want pan, tilt, follow, POV, etc. Or we do a custom mode. And then we can also have scenarios. So this is where we can adjust the speed of ICP or FPV mode. And if you want tilt deflect, and we can also do custom FPV mode. So do we want to just rotate once clockwise or anti-clockwise? Or do we want to do infinity for clockwise and anti-clockwise? And you just tap in and select that, and that is it. We also have the wide angle mode. So if you just tap on this, this will automatically go into the wide angle mode. And then we tap it back to go to how it was. We can also shoot panoramas using this mode. So if you want to stitch your own photos, we can select this, or you can do it with an app, which will probably be easier because it will stitch the photos for you using the Hohem app. We also have a time-lapse feature as well, which you can manually adjust. So you can just point the gimbal using the joystick and then just adding a set point, moving the gimbal again and adding a set point by pressing the plus sign. And then we can adjust the time of how long we want this duration of time lapse to be. So we can adjust it by either moving the bar forward with our thumb or doing plus and minus for how long we want it to move, and then just pressing start. Don't forget to press record. If we go back out and we swipe to the left, here we have the joystick functionality on how fast we want it to move, and if we want it to go backward clockwise or anti-clockwise, and the same for the pan direction. We have the A/B functionality, so if we don't use the buttons on the side, we can do this on screen, which is great. And this is actually where we can adjust the motion duration. So by default, this is 30 seconds, I believe. But if we want a shorter time period, we can go 15 seconds all the way up to 1 hour. So maybe if you're doing a manual time lapse, then we can set this here on the gimbal. We also have our follow speed, so slow, medium, or fast. And then under more settings, we can change the language, whether we want a gimbal sound, motor strength, and level calibration. If we scroll all the way to the right, this is where we can see the tracking module LCD screen. And here we can tap subjects, drag and drop, confirm subjects, and even cancel subjects, and even calibrate this to match what the camera is seeing. So when you're using it as a remote while the gimbal is placed down, you can record yourself, which is pretty handy. And if you just swipe back into the middle, that is pretty much the touchscreens covered, and you can adjust functions and features on the fly, which is great. Now let's take a look at some smoothing settings and cinematic tips with the Hohem iSteady M7. The first one is going to be on the gimbal itself. Now, depending on your shooting scenario, if you want smooth, steady shots, you might want to put your follow speed to slow. However, if you're filming something more dynamic and fast paced, you might want to put this to fast. This will all just depend on the scenario you're in, not one size fits all, as they say. The next up is the camera apps. Now, we're not fixed to Hohem's app itself, so we can use iPhone's native camera app, including Blackmagic app as well, and we'll cover that in a moment. Native camera app is pretty straightforward, but not all functionality is available, such as being able to switch between front and forward facing cameras and toggling between photo and video. You would need to use Hohem's app itself. Another one of those features that you can use with the Hohem app is focus control. So if you want to pull manual focus, you can use the Hohem app and the roller here to pull manual focus, which is great. Just note that when you are using seamless zoom or that's toggled on, focus won't work and you have to toggle this off within the settings. However, the app is great. You can adjust things like your video resolution and frame rate, whether you want flash on and off, if you want to have some filters adjusted. It will even give you the gesture controls if you want to toggle these on or off or disable stop gesture. We can even do things like mirror selfie, adjust the white balance, seamless zoom, histogram, etc. We have other functionalities such as photo mode, pano, live stream, time lapse, time warp, slow motion, and moments. And under moments, we have several scenarios here such as raindrop control, dolly zoom, different scenarios basically, and it will guide you to filming these and you'll be able to share them to the platform of your choice. The great thing with the Hohem app is that it works in harmony with the gimbal, so you can do things like switching cameras front and back or using the zoom control, the focus control, etc. You can actually control all the functions of the gimbal within the app and not having to touch the gimbal, which is great. Now, if you want a little bit more control with your filming, such as controlling things like your shutter speed and frame rate, then we can use the Blackmagic app. And I've heard some great things and I wanted to test this out. However, I needed an ND filter for my phone to be able to control the shutter speed. And this is where Freewell's ND kit came in handy, as well as the anamorphic lens, which I'll come to as well. The great thing with the Blackmagic app, which can be overwhelming, but it's actually really handy because you can adjust things like instead of having to record in H.264, we can record in Apple ProRes. So if you wanted to color grade your own footage, especially you can have the highest quality with Apple ProRes 422HQ, and we can then add a LUT from Apple Log, and then we can color grade this later in DaVinci Resolve or the editing platform of your choice. So this is a very overwhelming app, but we can control things like our shutter speed. So if we're filming, for instance, at 1/25 or 1/30 or 1/60, we then can put our shutter speed double our frame rate, and then using Freewell's ND filter to adjust our ND to have correct exposure. We could lock the ISO and the white balance and the tint, etc. So this is a great app if you want full cinematic control. The other benefit is we can have even more cinematic stuff by using Freewell's anamorphic lens, and this is pretty great. So if you really want that wide field of view, and with some curvatures, we could use this anamorphic kit, and this gimbal will support it, which is great. And you can use this in conjunction with the Blackmagic app, because within the settings mode, if we scroll all the way down under camera, we will have anamorphic D-squeeze, and you just set this to 1.33 and your footage will automatically come out ready, depending if you're using Apple ProRes or just regular H.264 with the color space. So this gimbal is fantastic that we can use the ND filters from Freewell and the anamorphic lens as well to be able to get the footage that we want and what we desire as filmmakers. So you have plenty of options, from the native camera app for just your basic users. You have the Hohem app for more features and having things like focus control. And if you want really good cinematic settings, then we can use Blackmagic's app for color grading, locking our shutter speed for natural looking motion blur, or using the anamorphic lens. So this was great fun to test out all these products together. Again, I will have links all in the description box down below. Before we end, I do have some notes that I made throughout my testing, so I just want to run by those as well with you. So if you made it to this part of the video, I appreciate that very much. In this section, we're going to be talking about the discoveries that I made during my testing for the gimbal, as well as the ND filter kit and some of the improvements that I think they can do, which would be really dope for future. So we'll start off with the gimbal itself and the tracking module. I will be reading off the notes here as well. So Hohem do mention this, that you do need good lighting. Unfortunately, I had some challenging lighting conditions. It was morning in Gefalanya and bright, so sometimes the tracking module would lose me, but I was fully aware that this would happen. So in low light, you might experience the same thing as well. Now this gimbal is really advanced, so if you're new to gimbals completely, this might be overwhelming as you've seen with all the buttons and functionalities available. However, stick to it and persevere, because if you become really good with gimbals, you're really going to enjoy this. And this will take you from a beginner to an enthusiast or even a pro, especially with all the adapters and apps that you can have. So this is a really good gimbal, even though it can be overwhelming in the beginning. I'm not a pro gimbal user myself. I'm still in my early days of using gimbals and trying to get the smooth cinematic shots. This video is purely a guide to help you guys get the most out of it. So when I was testing the A/B mode, even though you can set the points, if you double press to start the action, it won't auto record, which is kind of annoying. I wish that would work more in harmony with the native app, or at least the Hohem app. Like, it didn't work with that, so that was kind of annoying. So the AI screen will differ to what your camera sees, but I covered this in the video. You just have to enter the calibration mode and just calibrate it. Obviously, the rear cameras are going to be better than the front-facing camera, but this all depends on what you're trying to film, whether you're doing POV mode or not. Light is really handy, especially in low light, if you need to light your subject. Oh, the extension pole on this, the fact that you can extend it to get high and low angle shots, that is dope. Really like that feature. Like, you wouldn't know it unless someone actually showed you. Really love that. I love how this also supports up to 500 grams to have the additional features like lights, microphones, ND filters, anamorphic lenses. Let's move on to Freewell's ND filter here. This is really dope for controlling your shutter speed and getting those smooth shots and natural looking motion blur, but you really need an ND filter to control the shutter speed to get correct exposure. The thing is, when you put this on, there is a microphone at the front of your iPhone, and when you have this, it will block the microphone. So the only way around this is if you're in the Blackmagic app, you have to make sure you use another microphone. So probably the one at the bottom of your phone, or the one facing towards you, unless you're using an external one. But if you leave this on auto, it's going to automatically use the microphone at the front, and everything's going to be muffled, and it's not going to be that great. Now, the anamorphic lens, also fantastic if you want something different, you want that really wide field of view. It does have a bubble level at the top, so you can get that perfectly centered. Really easy to do, to be fair. This doesn't block the microphone because there is a gap there, so it will pick up, but still take that into account. Also, you can't use the ND filter on top of the anamorphic lens, which sucks. So you're going to have to go back to automatic settings in the Blackmagic app to be able to film and get correct exposure. Also, I do like how you can use Apple Log to record and color grade everything yourself. Now, if you don't have enough memory on your phone, then you might want to put this to LT. That's what I done to save some space, unless you have an SSD, but I don't know where you could mount that unless you use the 1/4" screw hole, but that's one of the issues I'm going to come up now. So one of the upgrades I would like Hohem to do is have space at the back where we could mount, have the ability to mount an SSD, or at least a USB-C that you can record your high quality Blackmagic footage from your phone to there. Obviously, we might need a splitter of some sort as well if we're going to have power and record at the same time. I would like Hohem to figure that out. That would be cool, because this will still fit an SSD and handle the weight, no problem. But it's just like, how do I keep my phone powered and plugged into the SSD unless you have it via Bluetooth, which I don't think will be perfect. There is a 1/4" screw hole here to maybe have an adapter and keep it balanced, but that's something that I would like improved with this, because that will be ultimate mobile filmmaking gimbal then. If you enjoyed this video and found value from it, really appreciate a like. Also, remember, there are links in the description box down below for the cheat sheet for all the functions for the Hohem gimbal. And if you're interested in picking the Hohem iSteady M7 or the Freewell mobile filmmaker kit, links are in the description box down below. Affiliate links, they will help support the channel, and I really appreciate it. Now, if you want to see another gimbal video on how I got on with the DJI RS4 Mini, click here. Or if you're struggling to decide between the Avata 2 or the DJI Air 3S, then click here. I'll see you in the next one.